And he looked at me. That's the thing that we have been used to. As great as the movement was, it lost the thing that really had to fuel it. And that's the capitalistic dollars, the economic assurances, the economic sensitivity. And play that hand in hand. And as a result, we're looking at a whole new future today because of those gaps and because we didn't debate. People have become very emotional. Well, you know what? Two players, one of them I like, one of them I don't, but both of them I admire. Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali would tick you off. I had another word for that, but it's TV. I remember the Sonny Liston fight. Remember that? Sonny Liston was so mad. I'm going to kill that kid. He was just emotionally revved up, and Ali kept feeding it, talking about his mama and anybody else. And you know, when you talk about your mama, you can't handle that. You got to fight. Well, you know what happened in that instance. And John McEnroe, who I didn't really like, I realized that that was a strategy. He's the only person I know that would get totally upset, change the whole pace of the game, and do better after disrupting with anger. It was never anger. It was a strategy. And so, you know, as we feel and realize what's happening, we've got to recognize that as much as we've done, we've got to do it a different way, ladies and gentlemen. And one of the things I like as I look around this audience, it's not a black audience, it's not a white audience, it's a Peoria audience. People concerned about the future of Peoria. You know, when you have cancer in the body, it's not only in one segment of the body, it's in the body. When you have problems in your communities, it's not just one segment of the community, it's the community. And whatever we have to do, we need to do it. And one of the things I love about this organization, the African American Hall of Fame Museum, and the vision of our founder, and I see Junior. I know he has something interesting on color-wise. He always does. He never disappoints me. I love Junior. But that vision holds true. But this is an organization through which we can raise the water level of Peoria. I've adopted you. Whether you like me, I like you. I was at a conference at Texas A&M, and they had on health, education, and employment for racial minorities. They were going in a lot of academic discussion. I haven't been invited to that group either. Come to think of it. But I stood up and just was real. I said, look, show me a poor community and I'll show you poor health. Show me a poor community, I'll show you poor education. Show me a poor community and I'll show you poor employment. It's not complex. It's what you do about it, not just segmented in a part of your mind or in the city or in some segment and say, those people. No, it's us. And it's got to be us moving forward. At the same time, we have to recognize what fuels us, and we have to change. I'm not going to talk much about the business element because at this time on a Saturday night, absorption of the mind is not one of the most active things that's happening. That's why you do jokes. But you also know your time is limited. But I do want you to appreciate the degree to which we're facing, because without a business community, it's hard to create wealth. You know, it's one thing when that great march on Washington, I loved it, but here again, I guess the reason I'm not invited, that I said fine, but you know, peace, jobs, and freedom don't happen just because you want it to. It happens because somebody makes it happen. And that's what entrepreneurs do. That's what small businesses, that's what corporations, and people in corporations that believe in their influence the organization to do the right thing in terms of diversity. And by the way, diversity makes you stronger in every way. But we have a problem. There's a segment called business participation rates where they measure the number of people per thousand that are in business. Very simple. Well, let me just give you some disappointing news. 10% of non-minorities, we used to call you white folks, but right now you're non-minorities. I don't know what's going to change. We used to be colored, now we're, you know, black and whatever, but it's mockschnicks. Non-minorities, 10 out of every 1,000, 10%, 100 out of every 1,000 non-minorities are in business. Indian, Asian American, 10%, 9 to 10%. American, Indian, Alaskan Native, it's about 9%. Hispanics, it's about 5%. African Americans, it's less than 2%. That means 2 people out of every 1,000, 20 people out of every 1,000 are in business. We got work to do. And we can do it together. There are things we can learn. I look at my good friend Glenn Barton, who is receiving. You know, what Glenn has gone through in his career is just a gold mine. We need to tap Glenn in every way. He's here. He's put his money where his mouth is. And I was on the board long enough to know where his mouth is. And those are the kinds of things that happen. All your awardees. Tyrone Taborn, whom I nominated, who is doing a phenomenal job in bringing scientists of color together with opportunities that grow businesses and grow stronger people and more education. We've got to recognize that we're very much behind. I'm going to skip the other statistics because they only accentuate the problem. But let me tell you some good news, folks. If you look at solutions, you know where it's coming from? Black women own 50% of the businesses in African American in America. I think that's a good thing. Women are growing, of all sorts, are growing businesses 3 times faster than men. Women get it. Now their receipts are less, but they are entrepreneurs. They think entrepreneurial. They are great entrepreneurs because they know infrastructure. They've had to do the dirty work in order to get opportunities. Now they have opportunities. They know how to make a business sing and perform. So I want to congratulate our women. This is not to knock the men. It's saying we need solutions and we need you to be stronger. We need you to be more pronounced and we need you to not back up. Keep going forward. It's going to make us all stronger as we look at it. I'm going to say just a few other things and I'll end my comments. I want to make you painfully aware of something that I focus on all the time. And I believe it to my heart. That there's one thing that we control and only we control in our life. It's how we expend our energy. You know, what you do and the time you put into it are decisions that we make. Maybe not all the time, but most of the time. And a lot of times when people say, I want some of your time, I'll say, no, you want some of my energy. And I'm very precious and stingy about my energy. Because at the end of the day, I go through an assessment as to whether I've done the right thing to get a return on where I put my energy. Not my time, not just my money, but my energy. I want all of you, when you leave here, if you're not doing it, to make this the #1 priority in your life. Think of time, energy, resources as energy, and to put it in places and in areas where there is a return on that energy. I think you'll find some changes that you'll make. God only gave us so much. A halfback only has so many hits before he has to retire. I mean, this goes across the board. So I hope that you will do that. I learned something at a very early age when I was pretty good in baseball until I threw my arm out. I was okay in basketball, but I found out something that was a true reality check. All black men cannot jump. Now, what this said to me was not so much my athletic prowess. It told me, forget it. Go into things you can do. That's when I became a cook. I focused on music. I focused on academics. So that decision saved me precious energy, which would have been dissipated. How many people go through college, or don't go to college, but spend their time on something and get hurt? Michael Jordan is a phenomenon because he really didn't get hurt. He was a great athlete, but there are other athletes equal to Michael Jordan, but he never got hurt. The ones you don't hear about are the ones that have dissipated that energy. Finally, I want to talk about something that is very disturbing. It may be the most disturbing thing we've faced in this country, and it's not talked about as much as it should, because we think that it only impacts the corporations. Media and litigation. I'm going to get litigation over real quick. It's crippling us. If other countries had litigation on their back, they would not be moving ahead, I can assure you. We move ahead in spite of it, and it's getting bigger because not against the lawyers, it's just something that has emerged, and we haven't made the hard decisions to curb toward reform. But it's crippling the businesses. There are people who won't go into business because they would make one mistake. You know you'll get sued, and you know you'll close the doors. That's a hell of a note, isn't it? But it's a reality. We've got to do something about that, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a black thing either. This is everybody. And it's impeding our business. But the one that bothers me the most is media. Media doesn't report business like Walter Cronkite. I remember those days when people legitimately reported news. Now we generate news. They're going to love this when they play this on Comcast, I'm sure. But you know, the thing that's bothered me is when there's a scene in the community, whether it's crime, accident, what have you, the cameras show up and people are interviewed. Now, I don't know how they go through the criteria of determining who to put on the camera. I don't know. I don't think I want to know. But somehow, some way, they find the one person who can't talk, won't stop talking, and has no teeth. I don't know where they get them. Exception granted. But they exist. This sends out a message that people capture. So when there's crime in the neighborhood, what do? You see a black face. It has nothing to do with what happened. It's just, that's kind of what I'm used to saying, and let's just continue to profile it. I'm sure it's more complex. But that's what's happening. And media, in my opinion, we got good ones as our mistress of ceremonies. There are some good media people, isn't it? But it's become an industry of itself. I remember one situations where this one person, I'm sure they weren't knowledgeable, at least I don't think they were, made a statement. Then the person they were interviewed, which was another journalist, disagreed. And I'm listening to two people who have not done anything that they're talking about. They haven't managed it, they haven't been responsible, yet they're offering these opinions which when played 100 times, you have people that don't dumber than dirt and haven't had any exposure who have strong opinions about what they've heard that day. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very, very, very dangerous. We have things that are being determined based on a media, just as they did not cover the George Bush event, because they made a conscious decision, in my opinion, but they didn't show up, so somebody did. This is very dangerous to our, and challenging to our freedom. And we've got to challenge it. Now, lo and behold, here comes social media. You know, God works in strange ways, doesn't he? Social media is making things real. And I hope that I haven't said anything that appears on YouTube to the part that I got to explain it, but, you know, it is what it is. They say that when we're talking about media, and the person that's been able to harness media effectively is Jesse Jackson. I love Jesse. But there's a saying, the most dangerous place to be on in the face of the world, of the earth, is between Jesse and a camera. But he has been able to maintain that. Let me conclude. We got work to do, ladies and gentlemen. All of us. We're here because we believe in what Peoria is, but more importantly, what the African American community is to Peoria, to the state of Illinois, to the nation. I'm here because I believe in it. I got exposed from Caterpillar, but I've learned to love you and support you in whatever ways I can. We've got to make sure that we change some things, and we make sure that we get involved. Because they say, if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting. You've got to change that. We've got to do some things differently, but it's going to take different talents, different skills, different people, different experiences. I mean, my grandfather was Irish with gray eyes. So what? It's who I am. It's what God made me. I'm proud of that. I think of the African American Hall of Fame as Peoria's answer to Invictus. Remember the Invictus with Nelson Mandela? Have all of you seen that or read that book? How many of you have read that book? Or seen the movie? You got to see it. You really have to see it. Because it took the brilliance of Nelson Mandela and the patience and the strategy to recognize that the one thing they all loved was what? No? What was the game? It wasn't soccer. Rugby. I had a moment there. And black people hated the soccer team. And that was just a line of demarcation. One of the first things Nelson Mandela did was work to build a coalition in support of that soccer team. And that brought the whole nation together in a time that it couldn't have been done. Well, I believe that the African American Hall of Fame Museum can do that. We don't just have African Americans in the Hall of Fame. We have people who have contributed to this community. We need to build on that. And I urge you, not only just a few dollars. We need to make sure that we have an organization that is strong in its infrastructure, that is professional in its dealing, and that can move forward as Peoria wants to move forward. This is an organization that I've agreed to work with because I believe in it. And I thank you, the founders, for that vision. And I urge you to become a part of it, to support it in ways that are material, not just coming to a gala once a year, but the programs that can come out of this can make this city and area stronger. You know, they say if you board that plane, before you can help other people, put on your oxygen mask first. That's what we need to do, because then we can help others. Frederick Douglass said it best. The history of civilization shows that no people can well rise to a high degree of excellence without wealth. A people uniformly poor and compelled to struggle for barely a physical existence will be dependent and despised by their neighbors and will soon despise themselves. We've got to make sure that we change that and that we provide the means from whatever sources to create an organization and move an organization to the next level. I'm going to end with the shark. You know, the shark is a phenomenal creature, has very fundamental organs. It doesn't have a respiratory system that breathes in water. It has to flow over the water to obtain its oxygen. So a shark is always moving. It moves to stay alive. Well, there's something about that. And I want to take from the shark to tell you that when you don't know what to do, keep moving forward. When you're knocked down, keep moving forward. When you're disappointed, keep moving forward. When you're rejected, keep moving forward. When you suffer depression and serious pressure, keep moving forward. When you're faced with absolute disaster, keep moving forward. I say to everybody, you would know of Moses if he stopped in the wilderness. Well, we've got to understand that we've just begun, but we can't stop. Economic rights assure civil rights. It always did and it always will. Civil rights without economic strength is a borrowed event and can be taken away at any time. Peoria, I challenge you to create the balance which can become the envy of the nation and to make this organization your model. Thank you.
Do you know who we are? PCCEO, helping people, changing lives for every stage of life.
Captions, News on the Go. We're at the Pierre Marquette with Andre Williams, who is a City Council candidate and also president of CCO. He's also been on our Captions program in the past. Tell us about, a lot of people were concerned with different issues affecting the city. What were the main issues that you were interested in?
Well, honestly, to be specific with you, it's jobs, schools, and public safety. But the reality is that all of these problems don't coexist in a vacuum. They all go hand in hand, and we've got to find common solutions to common problems. And that's why the theme of my campaign has been One Peoria, to understand that we have to address all these issues, but we have to address them together. For example, we have problems with our schools lacking enough revenue to be able to get the outcomes that we want, which also creates a drain in our communities and our neighborhoods because families want schools that have good outcomes. And so families oftentimes leave communities and go elsewhere. Businesses follow them, and so does the tax revenue, the tax base. So we really have to address all of these things together. When the tax base, when there's a drain on the tax base and schools are not performing the way that they should, there's also an increase in crime. And so we have a problem trying to increase public safety at times like that. The reality is that we have to become one Peoria, begin to change how we view ourselves and how we view one another as neighbors, and begin to see that we are really all in this together. We're going to have to find common solutions to common problems.
Why the decision to run at all?
You know, I've always been real involved in nonprofits in the community and also in businesses in the community. And there's a lot of people in our community that need more from our community. And I just hope I can jump in and help.
Tell us about what this election has meant to you, the work that goes involved in campaigning and answering questions and coming up with issues.
This is a great process. The number of friends I've made through this, and also I always tell people there's two reasons you run for office. One of it's because of what you can do in the office, and I think the more important part is what you can do because of the office. And when you get into positions of leadership, you have an opportunity to get in front of people, share your thoughts, and I think that's really important to help people think about how maybe we can live our lives differently and how we can try to impact others in a positive way.
Of course, one of the biggest issues that people have with Peoria is the budget deficits. People don't want to see more police laid off. They don't want to see any less city services. How do you think the city is going to be able to balance its priorities of bringing in new businesses, new jobs, and balance that with the needs of human services, especially those for the poorer neighborhoods?
I think the most important thing is we have to be honest, and we're going to have a couple of tough years. And when I campaigned, I didn't make any promises about things we could do. I was very honest that we're going to have tough years, because that's where I think we hurt ourselves sometimes, making promises we can't keep. And I hope people can understand that what we have to do is figure out how we can raise our top line with regard to revenue to be able to afford the services we have.
And of course, standing next to you is your beautiful wife, Lori, and as one of Lori's prepare for long Tuesday nights without Chuck.
Yep, I'm ready.
What is your, what did you serve any role in this election campaign?
Yeah, I helped out a little bit. We did some door-to-door and mailed some letters out, and what else did I do?
Yeah, she helped with, when I started my campaign with regard to just having people over, and Lori is an unbelievable cook, so when I invite people over, I know they're going to get a great meal and they come back smiling. So that's a big help. But she's just been supportive of me all the way through this.
We're now with Beth Atkinson, who is one of the newly elected city council members at large. She was one of the top 5, along with newcomer Chuck Weaver and the 3 incumbents, Eric Turner, Ryan Spain, and Gary Sandberg. Beth, first of all, tell us why you initially wanted to run for office.
Well, my initial reason for running is because as I watched the city grow, I could see that decisions that were being made were not getting us closer to the vision that I had for the city, or the vision that I saw that people had. So my intent was to run so that I could encourage city council people to make decisions based on a vision and guide us closer to where we want the city to be in 20 years. Right now the city is struggling with their finances, and that's largely because our tax base is shrinking. And we cannot grow our city to be larger in a footprint without having the population to support that. So I think it's essential that we have someone that values decisions that are made based on planning, and I am so gratified that the voters agree.
What tell us about, you mentioned about the city's budget problems. How do you think the city is going to be able to balance trying to grow the tax base, bring in new jobs and industries, but at the same time be able to still maintain, what a lot of people are, some people are clamoring for, and that's basic services and more focus on some of the poor neighborhoods?
Well, the city has to be a place that attracts people. I mean, businesses will come if the city is a place that people want to live, and people live in neighborhoods. So we have to remind ourselves that investment in our neighborhoods will bring citizens back into the city. And if we continue to disinvest in the center core neighborhoods, then we won't see the city grow. I mean, what we'll find is that people will leave the center city, and we won't have the tax base that we need to get the revenue that we need.